And now, from the Live 95 studios in Florence, this is Good Morning PD with Ken Hart and Dave Baker on Live 95.
Trump gives an address to the American public last night from the Oval Office. McCall Farms is our sponsor, 843-6610937. As a result of the address President Trump gave, I think it's 8 or 9 minutes long, somewhere thereabout, there's a media war going on now. Fox News is telling you if you don't build a wall tomorrow, all of us will be living in mini Tijuana. The liberal media, which is the predominant media, says nothing to see here. It's interesting to me how we've had all these visuals of people climbing fences, you know, and throwing fire bombs across the border at the border agents. And Fox News is the only network that covers any of that. I've looked at a lot of different news networks trying to find somebody to show a visual of the chaos at the border, and nobody shows anything. Interesting CNN moment last night.
Must be nothing to see here.
Well, I mean, interesting CNN moment last night. If you want to know how disingenuous the media has become.
Oh, you watched CNN last night?
Well, I mean, you got to watch the other side to try and understand it. But the anti-Trump movement, the resistance, if you were from Francais, you would say the resistance. But I'm from Pamplico, so I'll say the resistance. If you listen, there was a very telling moment. They had a round table of pundits offering up punditry as it relates to what Trump said, the 7 or 8 minutes. They had a fact checker on hand from the Washington Post, I think, and it was his job to fact check. So Chris Cuomo's hosting the show because Cuomo's show comes on, I think, at 9, and they were keeping him in his usual time slot. But obviously they were going to dissect, and analyze what the president said in those 8 or 9 minutes. And the person to his immediate left, Cuomo's immediate left, was there as the resident fact checker. That was his job. And when the president spoke for 8 or 9 minutes, they came back. Gloria Borger, who is the senior political reporter for CNN, she said, well, I mean, it's crazy. Trump's crazy. Try to call it a crisis. Not a crisis. Immigration is down. We don't have any problems. Well, that's because they don't live in your neighborhood, ma'am, and they're not looking for your jobs. That's why they're not problems. And then Cuomo goes to his left and he says, we've got our fact checker here, because we're going to fact check the president because he never tells the truth. And was he dishonest? Did he mislead the American public? Oh, yeah. I've got no less than 3 examples of where he completely and totally distorted the facts and truth. And one was kind of an argument that it's not specifically number related, but he said that at the Democrats' request, he's taken concrete wall out of the argument and replaced it with a steel barrier. And the guy said, that's not the Democrats' request. They don't want a wall. And then he caught himself. Well, it is not. I mean, they want to secure the border. They just believe there's a lot better ways to do it. But it was interesting that, you got a guy there that's professing to be a fact. No, he's there to bash Trump. That's the only reason he's there, is to be dishonest to you. A fact checker who's dishonest is not a real fact checker. But he told you what the Democrats really are. He's a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. But then Pelosi and Schumer, who look like the mom and daddy from the Addams Family. They look like they were scared to death staring in the camera. And combined age of 374, but that's who the Democrats trotted out to give their, response or rebuttal. Pelosi and Schumer basically echoed the same sentiment. We want to secure the border. We want to keep America safe, but we don't want to do anything. We're willing to work hard to keep America safe. We'll work hard to secure the border, but we're not going to do anything.
And don't ask us why we voted for walls and fences and barriers before.
Nobody will ask them that, Rev.
I noticed that.
Well, they're never, and that goes back to what I said yesterday. You can't have a debate about an issue if the other side is never asked to defend themselves. That's why we don't have political debates in America. There was a day the media challenged both sides. Now, they've always challenged our side a little more sternly and aggressively, but they did challenge both sides.
But you could see, I think of Tim Russert, who was a fair journalist, and he was a left-leaning guy, worked for a Democrat senator, but I could picture him inviting Chuck Schumer on the show and playing his speeches where he promoted a border fence, wall, whatever you call it, and ask him to respond.
Is Tim Russert still alive?
Unfortunately, no.
There's your answer. I mean, when Russert died, and his legacy at Meet the Press, the legacy that all the hosts and moderators of Meet the Press, because there was a day that Meet the Press tried its dead level best to be sincere. Once again, if you've got a liberal hosting the show, it's going to have a liberal bias. But it wasn't a witch hunt. It wasn't a resistance. It wasn't propaganda. It wasn't, you always knew where Russert lined up and stood on matters relating to politics, but he tried his dead level best to put his partisanship in his back pocket for an hour every Sunday morning and do the dead level. But nobody asked Schumer or Pelosi, why did you vote to fund the wall or the barrier when President Obama was there or Bush was there? This is all about a hatred for Donald Trump. And if you really want to go down the road I always go down, it's all about a hatred, a vitriol dislike they have for you. At the end of the day, this is the peasant. This is the working stiff. This is the average American being repudiated by Washington because in him they see you. He discussed them because you discuss them. That's the reality. That's what you've always got to be aware of and remind yourself of. When you boil it all the way down to the beginning, you didn't do what they wanted you to do. You didn't do what they've always convinced you to do. And they see in him you. So when they fund for Obama and they fund for Bush, they fund Washington winning. Washington wanted Obama. Washington wanted Bush. Washington wanted Kasich or another Bush. And you didn't give them what they want. And this is the penalty the American people pay when the elites and aristocrats in Washington don't get what they want. They make life miserable for your guy.
They seem to hate us for
it. They do hate you for it, Reb. I've told you that more than you care to hear. They do hate you. And they hate him because of you. But last night when the fact checker, and this was, he's already put his foot in his mouth, or I think he has. Most people probably didn't hear that or didn't hear it that way. I did. Trump says that the compromise is I've taken concrete off the table and I'm putting steel barrier on the table, to which the fact checker says, well, the Democrats have never asked for a steel barrier. They don't want to. And you could kind of see in his, he knew he had to finish the sentence, but you could tell he was like, crap, they didn't hire me to do this. I'll never get back on here ever again. So anyway, they go around the table and everybody bashes Trump, which is what CNN does. And then Pelosi and Schumer, they cut in. Pelosi and Schumer give their rebuttal, the other side. And like I said, they look like the parents on Addams Family. And Pelosi's freaky, man. Mm-hmm. She is a wickedly freaky looking woman at this point in her life. But she speaks, and then Chuck Schumer speaks, and I can see how this goes. Chuck and Nancy, I want to do it. How many people watch? I want to do it. I've never done that. I want to do it. And Chuck Schumer's nodding as Nancy Pelosi speaking, and Nancy Pelosi, it was a little bit weird, a little bit odd. So,
and the optics were weird. The one podium.
Yeah.
I just didn't get that.
It was very odd. Most people who get in that moment blow that moment because they're not real or authentic. They try to coach themselves up all of their lives to do that. And when they do, it's pretty obvious they're not very talented. They're politicians, but they're not very. There's a reason Nancy Pelosi's never run for president. She's just not very politically talented. They're blocking tacklers and they're ruthless. There's no doubt about it. Both of them are ruthless. You don't rise to the level of minority leader and Speaker of the House without being a ruthless, cagey, capable politician. But I think when you stand them out in front of the American people, they look a bit odd. And their fishbowl, that is the Capitol building, they're very at home. Well, when they have to face the American public at a grand scale, they look a bit odd. But go back to the fact checker. Pelosi and Schumer give the rebuttal. Quote, they go back to Cuomo. Gloria Borger, you can tell they already had it set up. Borger gives her first because she's the senior political reporter. She gives her take. They go to the fact checker. Cuomo says, well, we want to be fair here.
Said, here we go.
You don't have any interest in being fair. Mm-hmm. Nobody believes that anymore. You've got no interest. We want to be fair here. Every hour of every day, that we're on the air and we bash Trump, but we want to be fair this 1 second.
Why start now?
So he goes to the fact checker. The fact checker's already blown it, and he kind of knows he's already blown it. So the fact checker says, he said, well, we want to be fair here. Did anything that Pelosi and Schumer say you find dishonest or misleading? And he said, he blew it even more. He said, well, I didn't watch the first minute of it. And I'm like, well, why are you there? I mean, if you're there to be a fact checker, if you're there to be the fact checker on Trump's 8 or 9 minutes, and you're there to be the fact checker, I mean, it's obvious that you've gotten your marching orders. I mean, CNN has told you, we'll hire. It's a little bit like the climate change scientist. We'll hire you to do this analysis, but you better not come back with a differing report. And with Schumer and, I mean, with the fact checker, we'll hire you to do this because we think you're fairly articulate and you could appear to know what you're talking about. But here's what we won't say it. You can say it any way you want to say it. But in essence, here's what we won't say it. We want Trump to be a liar, and we want Pelosi and Schumer to be honest. Your job is nothing else but that. You've got one marching order. When Cuomo and Chris, refers to you, Trump's a liar, Pelosi and Schumer are not. And he blows it by saying, well, I didn't get to watch the first bit of the, and I'm like, dude, you got two responsibilities. They basically told you what to do, and I know it's in the contract. If you are to get paid, here is what you need to say. Now, you can come out here and cowboy and be honest and be objective and be fair, but you won't get paid because we're not paying to be objective. We're not paying to be fair. We're paying to be a part of the resistance because that's what we do here. We're not in the news business anymore. We're in the resistance business, and you are part of the machine that is resisting Donald Trump. I didn't watch the first bit of it. What are you doing if you're not? When you go to the bathroom? When you eating a moon pie? I mean, did your daughter call you on your cell phone? What the hell are you doing? You're sitting around a podium on a major news.
Why are you there?
Yeah, why are you there, dude? You got to believe somebody in the back room at CNN said, what did he just say? He didn't watch the first minute or 30 seconds or whatever?
Well, did he find anything dishonest?
No, he didn't have to watch it. I think that's what he was telling us.
Pretty much.
I didn't have to watch it. You've already told me what to say anyway. But I don't think he was supposed to say, I didn't watch the first 30 seconds. You're supposed to say, yeah, they told the truth. You don't say, I didn't watch the first 30 seconds, but yeah, they told the truth. Guy blew it. He'll never be invited back to CNN again. They'll have another resident fact checker tomorrow.